Shalom from Beit and thank you for joining me in the study of Parashat Pinchas. Today, we will try to understand and maybe even to delineate some of the characteristics of a leader. Moshe is in a crossroad, and he understands that he is not going to be the one to lead Am Israel, the nation of Israel, to the land of Israel. And he understands that even though he reached tremendous heights as a person, as a leader, he's going to die like everyone else, and he really cares about his people. So he would like to have a leader. And Parashat Pinchas, that basically sings the praises of Pinchas, that last week's parasha was able to stop the plague, he is not the leader that is going to be chosen. And Moshe is looking for a leader, and by doing so, he describes what are the characteristics, what are the requirements that we have from the leader and that the leader needs to have. וידבר משה אל השם לאמור. And Moshe spoke to Hashem, saying, which by the way, it's almost an anomaly in the Torah, because most of the times the verse starts with וידבר Hashem el Moshe. Hashem spoke to Moshe, and here it says Moshe spoke to God, which obviously describes this almost intimate relationship between Hashem and Moshe, but also about the significance and the importance of this subject that Moshe felt that he needs to address God and to talk to Hashem about this issue of leadership. And then he says, Ifkod Hashem Elokei Aruchot Lechol Basar, please Hashem appoint who are the God of all spirits, Ish al Ha'edah, a man on the congregation. Here a man is someone with importance, with influence, with charisma. And Moshe relates to Hashem as Elokei Aruchot, the God of all spirits, which obviously requires some kind of an understanding. And then the characteristics, Asher Yetzeh Lifnehem ve'asher Yavo Lifnehem, ve'asher Yotzihem ve'asher Yevihem. I want a leader that will go out in front of them, that he will come in front of them, he will take them and he will bring them. So it seems to be that it's almost redundant. Yetzeh lifnehem v'yavo lifnehem, will go in front of them, will bring them, and also yotzihem v'yevihem. So what is the difference between all those four adjectives? V'lo tiyeh adat Hashem katzon asher ein lahem roeh, and the congregation of God will not be just like a flock without a shepherd. So just by the narrative itself, we see that the characteristics can be in a way defined in the following manner. You need to have a leader that will have the courage, and he will be able even to dare to go in the front. He will not be a coward. He will not be too shy. He will not be too embarrassed. He will understand that there is leadership and he needs to go in front of the people. He also needs to do yavo lifnehem, which is a little bit unclear. What does it mean that he will come in front of them? It might be that he will be able to stand in front of them. And then ve'asher yotzihem ve'asher yevihem, that he will take, not only that he will stand in front of them, but he will be able to take them. He will be able to encourage them, to inspire them, to aspire them to what? To do things that he thinks are good for them and for the nation. Ve'asher yevihem ve'lo tiyeh adat Hashem katzon asher ein lahem roeh. And the other requirement is that what? That he will be like a shepherd. And we all know that many of the leaders, will be Yitzchak and Yaakov and David HaMelech, were all, and Moshe Rabbeinu were all shepherds. And obviously being a shepherd has some interesting characteristics in terms of the nature of leadership. You need to be very attentive to the flock, you need to know them, they need to trust you, you need to show compassion and mercy. At the same time, you sometimes need to be strict and to try to lead the flock to the right place. So these are the characteristics based on the narrative. Rashi says the following, Asher yetzeh lifnehem, that the leader should go out in front of them, לא כדרך מלכי האומות, שיושבים בבתיהם ומשלחים את חיילותיהם למלחמה. Says Moshe, when I want a leader, it's not a leader that sits at home and gives orders. I want a king, I want a leader that will go in front of the people to war. This is someone that says, Acharai, after me. and not you go and I'll stay in my palace. כמו שעשיתי אני שנלחמתי בסיחון ואוג שנאמר אל תירא אותו. And Moshe says, I'm not expecting anything that I would not expect of myself, because when I waged a war against the king of Sichon and Og the giant, I went by myself. I went in front of the people, taking a tremendous risk, but I want to show by example. וכדרך שעשה יהושע, and the same way that Yehoshua did, שנאמר, וילך יהושע אליו, ויאמר לו, הלנו אתה אם לצרינו. When Yehoshua was at the night before a war, he saw this angel and he says to him, are you with us or are you against us? Because it's me leading the people. וכן בדוד הוא אומר, and the same thing with King David, כי הוא יוצא ובא לפניהם, that he goes and comes in front of them, יוצא בראש ונכנס בראש. So he is the first one to go and he's the first one to bring them back from war. So what do we see from here? We definitely see that the first characteristic is definitely courage. It's the understanding that I'm doing that for the people. B, I need to show by example. I need to lead by example. You cannot expect the people to do something if you don't do that. If you don't show them by example that you care about it and you are willing to do so. So these are the characteristics that at least Rashi defines immediately based on the narrative. The Malbim describes in pretty lengthy way the characteristics of a leader of a king, and he divides it into two issues or subject matters, two categories. The first, ההנהגה הזאת תחלק לשתיים. The leadership is basically divided to two components. The first one, בעת שיצאו לחוץ ללחום עם אויביהם, שיצא לפניהם. When they go to the battlefield, when they go and wage a war, or when they go to defend the country, so I expect the leader, the king, to go in front of them. Second, the second category, בעת שישובו אל בתיהם, when they come back after they waged the war, after they won the war, שאז צריך להנהיג ההנהגה הפנימית, לעשות משפט בין אדם לחברו. He says, then, when you wage a war, you have obviously a common enemy and you can unite the people. The challenge is after the war, when you go back and you need to deal with internal societal issues, judgment, justice, kindness, compassion, medical care, education. When there is a war, you can forget about all of those things because you need to win the war. But after the war is over, there is definitely, says the Malbim, you need to focus inwards. And that might be a very challenging thing. כמו שכתוב, ושפטנו מלכנו ויצא לפנינו ונלחם מלחמותינו. That's what the people said to prophet Samuel when they asked for a king in the book of Samuel. ועל זה אמר ואשר יבוא לפניהם. וההנהגות האלה יהיו בשתי פנים. And it says, these two categories also have two dimensions to them. A, בעת שהעם נכנעים אל השופט ונמשכים אחריו ברצון, שעל זה אמר אשר יצא לפניהם. It says, there is a way that the judge, the leader, the king is very likable and the people really want to listen to him. And they basically follow him willingly. They don't challenge him. They follow him. They trust him. However, בעת שאינם שומעים ברצון. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes people understand that there need to be a king or a judge or a leader, but they don't like him or they don't want to do what he says to them. וצריך להכריחם על זה בכוח הזרוע, אשר לו. And you need to force them because you need to make sure that the society as a whole act like a good society. ועל זה נאמר, ואשר יוציאם ואשר יביאם, שזה מורה על שמכריח אותם ביד חזקה. So it says the leader needs to have, in a way, ימין מקרבת ושמאל דוחה, or שמאל דוחה וימין מקרבת, which means sometimes you need to push and you need to pull. Sometimes you need to show tremendous compassion and mercy and sensitivity, and sometimes you need to be tough, and because you need to be a leader. It's not about popularity contest here. It's about being a leader. Being a leader needs to do what is right for the people. And he needs to look and he needs to see. The best case scenario is obviously everyone follow you, everyone trust you, but we all know This is a dream. This is not a reality. So a leader needs to understand that he's not going to be liked by everyone, but if everyone sees that his real interest is the well-being of the nation, even if he will use some force, they will follow. ולא תהיה עדת השם כצאן אשר אין להם רועה. And the congregation of God will not be like a flock that has no shepherd. כי גם הצאן שאין להם רועה, יש להם מנהיג, והוא התיש, ההולך בראש העדר וכולם הולכים אחריו, רק אין זה קרוי מנהיג, אחרי שהוא שחל כמוהם ודומה להם. So it's very interesting, the Malbim says, that the congregation of God should not be a flock that don't have a shepherd. Okay, if you have a flock with no shepherd, so what do? So they follow the taish, which is like the goat. And they follow whatever the goat does, they do. Now, the goat did not go through a leadership course. The goat is a goat, but they follow the goat. He is sachal kamoe, meaning he has the same intellect like all the rest of them. Which means, basically he says, yeah, a flock can handle themselves without a leader, but they're going to be aimless, purposeless. They will just follow a goat, whoever a goat it is. You need a leader. You need to have someone that might use that goat to get the flock going, but he will lead them to where they need to be. וצריך רועה שיכול לומר שיש לו שכל ויודע איך להנהיגם על נאות דשא ועל מי מנוחות כן, אין די בשיהיה מנהיג דומה להם. Meaning the leader cannot just be another guy who is similar to the people, who just like everyone else. He obviously needs to be humble, he needs to understand where he's coming from, but he needs to elevate himself. רק צריך איש אשר רוח אלוקים בו, שהוא נפרד מבינם בערך הרועה המשכיל נגד הצאן. The Malbim, in a way, is pushing this idea of leadership not to an extraordinary man who is separate from the people and cannot connect to them. This is not the issue. But the issue is that the leader needs to understand the balance between being a friend and being a leader, which is very difficult. He needs to know that he needs to guide and lead and sometimes even to use force or to do something that it's unpopular for the benefit of all, rather than just to be popular and loved by everyone else. We're not looking for someone who is just going to be like everyone else. You're looking for someone that has ruach elokim bo, that has a spirit, that can see things that others do not, that can analyze things better than others, that should not push him, God forbid, to be arrogant, pompous, and think that he knows everything. But the idea is that you need to have this very delicate balance between being with the people and being separate from the people. That's what the Malbim says. So therefore, after Moshe's introduction to what are the requirements, what is the job description for a leader, Hashem answers Moshe, and he told him. ויאמר Hashem אל Moshe. Hashem says to Moshe. As you can see, now it switched again. Hashem speaks to Moshe. קח לך את יהושע בן נון, איש אשר רוח בו. Take Yehoshua, the son of Nun, a man who has a spirit within him. ושמחת את ידך עליו, and you should lean your hands on him, which means basically you empower him and you show everyone that he is the chosen one. And here, obviously, we need to ask a question. Why wasn't that obvious that Yehoshua is the next one, is the next leader? He was the one who stood by Moshe all the time. He went with him to Har Sinai, to somewhere on the mountain. He was the first chief of staff fighting Amalek. He was the one that at the end of Parashat Be'alotcha that we read a few weeks ago, he was the one who told Moshe, I think Eldad and Medad, the two prophets, are saying something against you. Maybe we should do something about them. He was always there. So wasn't that obvious that he's going to be the next leader? That's question number one. And the second question is when you go back to the Pasuk, it says, Kach lecha et Yehoshua. Take for yourself, take Yehoshua. What does it mean to take him? Just appoint him. So, מסכתות קטנות, in מסכת אבות דרבי נתן, they suggested the following. התקן עצמך. בשעה שראה משה את בניו, שאין בהם תורה שיעמדו בנשיאות אחריו, נתעטף ועמד בתפילה. So first and foremost, here we have something that the narrative does not say. We all know that Moshe had children, Gershom and Menashe. We don't know anything about them. We know when they were born, We know about the circumcision on the way to Egypt. We know that when Yitro came back with Zipporah, he brought the children, but where are they? They are not mentioned in the narrative. And Moshe saw, and he thought that, maybe they will be his successors. Like in every other ancient society, the leader's children supposed to continue, but not. Moshe is looking and he looks and he sees that Ein Bahem Torah, that they don't have Torah. Now, what does it mean? It means many things. It can be, if we take it to the extreme, is that they don't study. They just don't learn. They think, Moshe is doing, my father is doing enough. Or that they don't have enough Torah in them. They don't have enough passion to study Torah, to understand its importance, and therefore, Moshe realized they are not going to be the leaders. So what does he do? He davens. אמר לפניו ריבונו של עולם. He says to God, הודיעני את מי ייכנס, את מי יצא בראש כל העם הזה. שנאמר, וידבר משה אל השם לאמור, יפקוד השם אלוקי הרוחות לכל בשר איש על העדה אשר יצא לפניהם ואשר יבוא לפניהם. So Moshe Rabbeinu thought that his children will be the ones. Then he realized that they are not. So he goes to Hashem, he davens, and he says, God, please tell me who should lead. אמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה. So Hashem says to Moshe, קח לך את יהושע. Take יהושע. ועמוד לו תורגמן וידרוש לפניך בראש גדולי ישראל. And have a translator. This was a way to honor the speaker. The speaker speaks, and then there is like a translator who explains a little bit to the people. And everyone will see that you appointed him. באותה שעה אמר לו משה ליהושע, יהושע, עם זה שאני מוסר לך, איני מוסר לך תיישים אלא גדיים. וכבשים איני מוסר לך אלא טלאים שעדיין לא נתעסקו במצוות ועדיין לא הגיעו לתיישים וכבשים. So Moshe says to Yehoshua, קח לך, he talks to him, he says to him, Yehoshua, I'm not giving you a complete product. Even after 40 years in the desert, what I'm giving you are little lambs. That's what I'm giving you. You have now the responsibility to shape them, to form them, to mold them. You have a lot of work to do. And it's on you to do it. I tried. I took them one level. Now it's you to make the rest. Which I think shows a tremendous humility from Moshe's perspective. But in addition, it gives Yehoshua a tremendous responsibility. You are now responsible to elevate them to the next stage. Most of the leaders sometimes has this notion that, after them, no one can do much better than what they did. And it's so wrong, because that shows lack of faith in the people. If you don't believe that your nation, your congregation, your group, whoever you lead, your family, cannot achieve more, you're probably not a good leader. A leader believes that there can be other leaders who can achieve much more than he or she were able to do. Different achievements, different goals, but definitely can achieve more. And that's what Moshe says to Yehoshua. I'm not giving you a final product. I'm giving you something that is what we'll call work in progress. Do it. You can do it. This is a tremendous empowerment from one leader to another, telling him, look, I did not complete the job. You have something to do. Says Rab Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, כרוח נושבת הנעלמת מן העין והניכרת רק בתוצאות פעילותה ככוח נע ומניע, כן שוכן האדם כוח ההכרה וכוח הרצייה. He says like the wind, that basically, just a regular wind, that when it comes, you don't really see the influence or the outcome of what the wind caused. It's only when you see it's moving. The same he says with a person. You see that the ish asher ruach elokim bo, a man with a spirit, is something that when you see the movement, you see the progress, you see the actions. יסוד רוחני ומוסרי זה איננו נעדר בשום בן אדם. He says this principle of having a ruach, of having a spirit, every person has it. אף על פי כן נאמר כאן על יהושע שהוא ראוי להיות יורשו של משה, even though, or despite that, it still says here on Yehoshua that he is the one who is worthy to be Moshe's successor, because איש אשר רוח בו. He's a man of spirit. ומכאן שהרוח נזכרת כאן בהוראה מודגשת. which means everyone has a spirit. So from the fact that the narrative emphasizes and focus on the idea of ruach, of spirit, it seems to be that Yehoshua had some kind of an additional spirit than anyone else. וכך גם אנו אומרים על אדם שהוא איש רוח. When we talk about someone who is a man of spirit, it's someone who has focus or emphasis on the spirit in him. יש בו שאר רוח במידה יתרה, so he has more spirit than anyone else. וכך נקרא הנביא, איש הרוח. The prophet also is being named the man of spirit. ויהושע הייתה רוח שלא נחלשה על ידי החומר העכור של הגוף. Yehoshua had that spirit that was never weakened by the body, by his physicality. In Dvarim, in Deuteronomy, it says, ויהושע בן נון מלא רוח חוכמה. That Yehoshua ben Nun was filled with spirit of wisdom. כי שמח משה את ידיו עליו, because Moshe basically put his hands on him or leaned his hands on him. אחרי שנתמנה ליורשו של משה, זכה כישרונו הטבעי להעשרה נוספת. After Yehoshua was appointed by Moshe, his natural inclination to spirit got some kind of an extra boost. He now became even more spirited. רוחו הייתה לרוח חוכמה. It was not just a spirit, it was a spirit of wisdom. ומילאה את כל אישיותו, and it filled his entire being. Meaning, the leader needs to have this additional spirit. So what does it mean, this spirit here? So it might be a little bit of prophecy. It might be a little bit of courage. It might be a little bit of a different perspective on how to see things. But there is more. The Malbim says, קח לך את יהושע בן נון, take Yehoshua ben Nun to be the next leader, שהוא נפרד במעלתו מנצון קודשים אלה, כי הוא איש אשר רוח בו. says, take Yehoshua because, to some extent, he is separate from the entire congregation, because he had this additional spirit. שהרוח כולל, and now he's going to teach us, what does it mean, spirit? It says it includes the following characteristics and attributes. רוח חוכמה, wisdom, בינה, understanding, רוח עצה, that he can give an advice, וגבורה, courage, וכל המעלות הנכבדות, meaning everything good, any quality of a leader is included in the word רוח. וחוץ מזה, and besides that, ושמחת את ידך עליו, you, Moshe, should lean your hands on him to empower him, to give him even more. והנה השפע, and this plenty, לא תחול רק על מי שהוא מוכן אליה מכבר. Meaning, by Moshe giving the plenty and the blessings, and from his own spirit to Yehoshua, if Yehoshua was not ready from the get-go, if Yehoshua was not a kli, was not a vessel that is able to contain Moshe's spirit, it will explode. It will not work. Which means when Moshe puts his hands on Yehoshua, Yehoshua is already ready. שנאמר, שאין הקדוש ברוך הוא נותן חוכמה אלא למי שיש בו חוכמה. Because Hashem will not give wisdom to someone who does not have wisdom from the get-go. שנאמר, יהב חוכמתה לחכימין. Because it says God gives wisdom to someone who is already wise. ועל זה אמר שהוא כבר יש בו רוח. And this is why when Hashem says to Moshe, take Yehoshua, he already has the spirit. So it's not something foreign to him. Just take that spirit that Yehoshua has and add to it. ורוח זה, המוכן לכך, התווסף בו קדושה ונבואה על ידי סמיכות ידך והשפעתך. So, the already existing spirit that Yehoshua has, you can add to it the spirit of sanctity, holiness, and prophecy. So Yehoshua already has that spirit. And there is something that we definitely need to ask. Where is that spirit comes from? And obviously this is a question that every time we speak about leadership, this is a question that comes up. Is that something that you are being born with? Just people are born as leaders or have qualities of leaders? Or this is something that you can acquire, that you can possess, even if you don't have it? It seems to be that this discussion will never be resolved. According to what we see here, it seems to be that Yehoshua already had it, I guess, from birth, and when Moshe leaned his hands on him, it just was enriched. It was not created. However, we can also see something else. It might be that Yehoshua did not really have it from the get-go. But somehow, by clinging and by attaching and gluing really himself to Moshe, he learned how to be a leader. And then he was basically giving tasks to test his leadership qualities. If we all remember a little bit about Yehoshua, the first thing we know, at the end of Parashat Beshalach, he was appointed to be the chief of staff. We're talking about a bunch of slaves who are being attacked from the rear with Amalek. No one knows what to do. Moshe and Aaron and Hur are going up on the mountain davening, but you need to have someone to fight. So you have slaves who were enslaved in Egypt for so many years, and Yehoshua is the one who, when Moshe says to him, Tzeh, hilachem ba'amalek, the word tzeh, asher yetzeh lifnehem, that he will go out. He was the first one. Just imagine. He's a slave, a son of a slave, a son of a slave, a son of a slave for 210 years. He takes a sword and he goes ahead and fight, without knowing even how to fight, Amalek. Yes, it's true. Moshe is davening, Aaron is davening, Hur is davening, everyone is davening. But someone needs to take the sword and fight. And Yehoshua is able to do it. He has this idea of asher yetzeh lifnehem. Yeah, he obviously has some failures. After he and Moshe are ascending from Mount Sinai and the people are dancing with the golden calf, Yehoshua says to Moshe, Kol milchama b'machaneh, there is a war. And Moshe says to him, it's not a war. It's a terrible thing that is going on there, but it's not a war. Which means Yehoshua needs to train himself, to listen better, to interpret better. Later on in Parashat Be'alotcha, as I mentioned before, he's too quick to judge. As Moshe says to him, "Amekaneh ata li," what, you are jealous for me? Don't be jealous for me. I wish that everyone will be a prophet. Which means Yehoshua definitely has, I will say, a raw capabilities of being a leader, but this raw talent needs to be refined. And perhaps that will answer why Moshe didn't pick Yehoshua immediately. Not only because Moshe maybe hoped that his children will take over, but also maybe because it was just not, Moshe was just not sure that Yehoshua will be able to fully refine his attributes, his leadership attributes. And therefore he wanted Hashem's guidance to tell him that Yehoshua is the right one. Now I will pause here for a second before we will see the concluding commentary by the Amek Davar. Parashat Pinchas, our Parsha, we mentioned before that Pinchas was not chosen probably because he was a zealot. And zealous is sometimes good for a moment, but not as a leader. So we have Yehoshua, but there is one more person that we need to take into consideration to this race of who is going to be the Jewish leader. Kalev. If you remember in Parashat Shlach, Kalev was also described as Ruach Acheret Aita Imo, a different spirit. He had a different spirit. He was not described as Ish Asher Ruach Bo, a person with a spirit within him, but rather Ish, he has Ruach Acheret, a different spirit. What does it mean, a different spirit? And if he has this different spirit and he was willing to stand up against all of the Meraglim and say, no, we can do it. Why not to choose him? It seems to be that he is a daring leader, he's an encouraging leader. I would like to suggest that Kalev had a Ruach Acheret, a different spirit that you need, but the timing was not right yet. When Kalev says that we can definitely go and conquer the land, he does not mention God's name. He's already in a different stage that the nation is not ready. The nation under Moshe Rabbeinu are so used to all those miracles. You need to have a transition. And Yehoshua is the one. He is Asher Ruach Bo, not Ruach Acheret. not a different type of leadership. What the people need now is similar to Moshe, yet different. Because now we are in the transition between a world of miracles to a reality which you need to conquer the land, you need to fight, you need to build institutions, and not to rely on miracles, but still having this more direct connection, so to speak, to Hashem. And then you can move forward to someone like a Kalev, which comes from the tribe of Yehuda, which are all our future kings. So we are left with Yoshua. But not because we have no other choice, but because he's the best choice for now. Says העמק דבר דנציב, קח לך להנאתך שיהושע היה תלמידו המובהק החביב כבן. So the Nativ puts a totally different perspective on it. It says, take Yehoshua, he's your beloved student. He's almost like a child, a son to you, because your sons are not going to be your successors. So take him. You'll have a tremendous enjoyment knowing that your student is going to be the next leader. איש אשר רוח בו, רוחו הינו דעתו. It says, spirit means opinion. עומד בפני עצמו. He has a spine. He knows what he wants to do. He's not influenced by others. ואינו נמשך אחר נטייה רצונית. He's not going to just follow a desire or a want. להנאת עצמו אחרים. He knows exactly what he wants to do for the people, not for himself. This is Yoshua. So when we think about leadership, or we think about what are the characteristics, the requirements, what qualifies someone as a leader, we have a list of many, many requirements that are basically being summed up by one thing: ruach, perception, understanding, wisdom, insight, courage, leadership, sensitivity, compassion. All of it is included in the word ruach. Ruach is movement. A leadership cannot stay stagnant. She or she must move, not only themselves. Create the environment for the people to move forward, to create a better society, and obviously, eventually, a better world. Thank you.